I've had a secret crush on my non-blood-related brother for years. However, no matter how deliberately I tried to flirt with him, he remained unmoved. Even when I was drunk and put my arms around his neck to ask for a kiss, he just turned his face away and coldly pushed me aside, saying, "Stop making trouble." Finally, I was completely disheartened. However, on the night when I brought my boyfriend home, Leo, who had always been calm and self-possessed, crushed a wine glass with his bare hands. He tied my hands with his tie and pinned me against the French window. In my ear was his murmur, "Baby, do I have to tie you up to make you behave?" When I was half drunk in the bar, Leo finally arrived. The door of the private box was pushed open. In the dazzling white light, a tall and straight figure could be vaguely seen. That person walked slowly towards me. His lips were tightly pursed, looking very unhappy. The familiar smell of pine surrounded me. Without even thinking about it, I knew it must be Leo, my non-blood-related brother. He probably didn't know that I had been longing for him for many years. I opened my arms towards him and coquettishly said in a very dependent way, "Brother, give me a hug." Leo coldly looked around. The male models in the private box were sensible enough to leave the room. Leo mercilessly picked me up from the sofa and held me horizontally. He was so forceful that red marks were left on my wrists. But I didn't care at all. I just leaned affectionately against his chest. I hadn't seen my brother for a long time. I missed him. Leo opened the car door and threw me onto the back seat of the car. It seemed rough, but actually he didn't hurt me at all. He looked down at me condescendingly. "Tracy, when did you learn to drink? And you even ordered male models, huh?" He turned on his phone screen and showed me the latest Moments post. In the photo, my cheeks were flushed from drinking and I was leaning intimately on the male model beside me and playfully making a V sign towards the camera. I whistled in my heart. That's exactly what I wanted. I deliberately let Leo see the photo and deliberately made him angry. Only then would he come to the bar to look for me and care more about me. I put on a pitiful look and shook his arm. "Brother, don't be angry. You saw it. I was just playing dice with them. I didn't do anything else." Leo remained unmoved. He lowered his eyelids and looked at me with eyes as cold as ice. I took the initiative to lean over and rubbed my cheek against his hand. "You've been on business trips recently." I was so bored by myself, so I wanted to go out and have fun. "Brother, I drank a lot of wine and now my stomach feels so uncomfortable." Leo's hand moved. He gently pinched my earlobe. It was just a tiny movement, but it made my whole body feel hot. I knew that Leo had always been soft-hearted towards those who were gentle with him. Sure enough, he couldn't resist my coquetry. Leo took a deep breath and helplessly closed the car door. "Let's go home. Don't do this again next time." I leaned against the back of the car seat and secretly observed Leo's handsome eyebrows and eyes in the rearview mirror. By accident, I caught a glimpse of Leo's thin lips. They were moist and looked very kissable. With the effect of alcohol on my brain, my throat suddenly felt a bit dry. I thought indifferently. "Anyway, we have no blood relationship. We're just siblings in name. So, it wouldn't matter if I kissed him, right?" And a naughty plan gradually took shape in my mind. When we got home, I turned on the TV and deliberately chose a very ambiguous romantic movie. Leo turned off the fire in the kitchen and brought out a bowl of hangover soup for me. But I didn't want to drink it, nor did I want to sober up so early. I coquettishly said to Leo, "Brother, my hand hurts. I can't hold the bowl. Feed me, please." As long as I showed weakness, Leo would surely comply. His warm palm wrapped around my wrist and gently kneaded it. He raised his eyes and asked me, "Does it hurt here?" I slowly moved closer to him, pretended that I couldn't control my strength, and fell into his arms. I moved Leo's palm to my waist. I innocently said, "Now my hand doesn't hurt anymore, but my waist hurts a little. Could you rub it for me, please?" Leo didn't make the next move. But his hand stayed on my waist and didn't leave. Fireworks seemed to burst in my heart. Looking at Leo's reaction, could it be that he also liked me a little bit? The romantic movie on TV was still playing. The hero and heroine started kissing passionately and the stereo played a soothing melody. I put my arms around Leo's neck. Brother, I'm a little sleepy. Could you give me a goodnight kiss? Leo's eyes gradually darkened, as if a storm was brewing. After a long silence, he finally gently kissed my forehead. He pinched my face. Be good. Go to sleep after drinking the hangover soup. I straddled Leo and got even closer, being pushy. I pointed at the TV screen and pretended to be innocent. I want a kiss like the one on TV, okay? The passionate kiss between the hero and heroine had lasted for several minutes, and both of them looked very affectionate. Leaning against Leo, the thin fabric between us was almost negligible. I could clearly feel that his body temperature was gradually getting hotter. Leo didn't move for a long time. I boldly and slowly moved closer to his lips. However, just when I was about to touch them, Leo turned his face away. Stop making trouble. He coldly pushed me away and let me fall onto the sofa. Leo rubbed his eyebrows. Tracy, I'm your brother. Kissing is something you can only do with the person you like, understand? Back in my room, I finally couldn't help but turn on my phone and complain to my friend Nyen. I angrily typed, do you think Leo is just a block of ice? I even wore such a sexy dress and leaned on his leg to ask for a kiss. He actually pushed me away and told me that kissing can only be done with the person you like. He shouldn't always act like he's educating me. My feelings for him have never been the kind of liking for a brother. It's the kind of liking that I want him to be my boyfriend. I felt angry for no reason and started to bring up old scores again. It wasn't the first time. No matter how deliberately I tried to flirt with him, Leo was always unmoved. He was like an iceberg that refused to melt no matter what. What on earth was he worried about? Obviously, we have no blood relationship. We're just siblings in name. Seriously, I was a bit discouraged. As my advisor, Nyen started to analyze carefully again. I know you're impatient, but don't be in a hurry first. I posted that photo of you on Moments and less than 5 minutes later, your brother immediately came to ask me what was going on. Do you still remember the previous graduation ceremony? When your brother saw the photo of you and the class monitor together, his face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. I think he has a strong possessive desire for you. Why don't we try the provocation method? Nyan explained her plan in detail. I nodded thoughtfully and sent her an okay emoji. After that night, I started to avoid Leo. I deliberately got up very late to miss the time when he went to the company. I always had dinner outside to avoid running into him. The plan was progressing smoothly. I thought it was time to close the net. I got up especially early today. When I yawned and came down the stairs, I happened to see Leo sitting in the living room reading a newspaper. I greeted him, brother, good morning. Leo looked up at me. The moment he saw my outfit clearly, Leo's face instantly turned gloomy. He took a deep breath. Are you going to wear this? The waist-tightening shirt outlined my body curves. And the skirt I wore was very short, just barely covering my buttocks. I blinked innocently. Is there a problem? Leo frowned and said firmly, go and change it. I gave him a sweet smile. No way. I'm going out on a date with my boyfriend later. This is our couple's outfit. The air pressure around Leo suddenly dropped. He took off his frameless glasses and his expression became very dangerous. He repeated in a low voice, boyfriend? When did you get a boyfriend? Why didn't I know? I replied indifferently, I think what my brother said that night was right. Kissing can only be done with the person you like. I've thought a lot of things through and even accepted a male classmate's confession. I'm quite happy with him. I knew how to irritate Leo. He quickly walked towards me, pinched my jaw, and forced me to look up at him. Leo's indifferent gaze fell on my face. Are you getting bold now, Tracy? You went to the bar to look for male models and now you have a boyfriend. Have I been spoiling you too much that you don't know your limits? Leo's fingers tightened even more, and my jaw hurt. After a long silence, he continued to speak. Have you kissed your boyfriend yet? I was secretly delighted. This provocation method really worked. But on the surface, I still pretended to be very aggrieved. I just got a boyfriend. Why are you so fierce? And as for kissing, it has to be done slowly. How could we kiss right after getting together? Leo took off his suit jacket and put it on my shoulders. He unquestionably held my wrist and took me back to the room. Change out of this outfit. You're not allowed to go on the date. Your boyfriend isn't a good guy either, asking you to wear such a couple's outfit. Break up with him as soon as possible, do you hear me? Leo was like teasing a kitten, pressing my nape one by one. The suit jacket had the unique smell of pine that belonged to Leo. I lowered my head and complained a bit. Brother, you're too domineering. After Leo left, I hummed a song and walked to the mirror, looking at myself in the mirror. My eyes were teary, but deep in my eyes was the slyness of a successful plot. I gently touched the red mark on my jaw. Leo was really rough. I curled my lips. However, I was willing to endure it. I listened to Leo's words. I stayed at home all day and didn't go out. Perhaps he also realized that he was a bit fierce today, so he specially sent me a message before getting off work. Stay at home obediently. I've bought the taro paste cake that you like. I turned off my phone and smiled. Leo would never have thought that I had prepared a big surprise for him in the evening. I waited at the entrance, waiting for Leo to come home. The moment the door opened, I affectionately took the arm of the person beside me. I gave Leo a bright smile. Brother, you're back. I think you might have misunderstood my boyfriend. So I specially invited him to come over and have dinner together. Look, don't we match well? I tilted my head and leaned on the shoulder of my fake boyfriend Joe. Leo's eyes changed from astonishment to indifference. This was the anger that I hadn't seen from him for a long time. I couldn't help shivering. Leo laughed angrily. Fine, you're really something. He glanced at Joe disdainfully, as if scolding him with his eyes that he was trash. Then, as if Joe didn't exist, he naturally took my hand. Our fingers intertwined. It was like declaring some kind of sovereignty. Tracy, let's go to dinner. At the dinner table, I didn't forget to add fuel to the fire. I kept putting food on Joe's plate. Didn't you say that scrambled eggs with tomatoes is your favorite? Come on, have some more. Cold sweat was already breaking out on Joe's forehead, and he nodded repeatedly. Thank you. I couldn't help but curl my lips in secret. The actor that Nyan found was really bad at acting. I gave Joe a sweet smile. I'm your girlfriend. There's no need to say thank you to me. I picked up another chopstick of scrambled eggs with tomatoes and was about to feed it to Joe's mouth. Suddenly, I heard a crisp sound. It turned out that Leo crushed a wine glass with his bare hands. Leo indifferently loosened his grip. The palm of his hand had been cut by the glass shards, and blood was flowing out. He called the butler and gestured towards Joe with his chin. Show the guest out. Joe looked as if he had been pardoned and he let out a deep breath. Then I'll leave first. Only Leo and I were left in the dining room. His hand was still bleeding continuously. I was very nervous and wanted to check his injury. Brother, are you okay? It seems a bit serious. As if he hadn't heard me, Leo walked straight towards me and carried me on his shoulder. I tried to break free from his restraint. Brother, what are you doing? I was thrown onto the soft carpet. Perhaps my constant struggle had angered Leo. He irritably tugged at the collar of his shirt, took off his tie, and roughly tied my hands. Oh no. It seemed that I had gone too far. I subconsciously wanted to back away. But I felt a chill on my back. It was the French window behind me, and there was nowhere for me to retreat. There seemed to be flames burning in Leo's black eyes. He slowly approached me, and his hot breath sprayed beside my ear. We were so close, and his voice sounded especially sexy. Baby, do I have to tie you up to make you behave? Hearing the word baby, my heart skipped a beat. I turned my face to look at him in surprise. At this moment, a warm and soft touch came to my face. Leo was also stunned for a moment. My face burned red. We kissed. The atmosphere became ambiguous. It seemed that even the air was getting warmer. My thoughts were in a complete mess. I moved my body uneasily and started to act coquettishly towards Leo again. Brother, I'll be obedient. Could you untie the tie for me first, please? Leo still had a solemn face and didn't move. I moved on the carpet, getting closer to him little by little. Leo lowered his eyes, as if he was lost in thought. He unconsciously rubbed my tied wrists and sighed. Tracy, when will you be a bit more obedient? Finally, I was close enough. Taking advantage of Leo's inattention, I kissed his Adam's apple and even gave it a gentle bite. His words stopped abruptly. Leo let out a muffled groan. It was so sexy that it made my face turn red. I like to see Leo lose his composure because of me. This time, we both crossed the line. I murmured in a low voice, "Brother, I've always been obedient." I took a deep breath and finally made up my mind. It was time to tell Leo my feelings. I involuntarily clenched my fists and kept cheering myself up in my heart. I raised my head and looked into his eyes very seriously. "Leo, do you know? I've liked you for a long time. It's the kind of liking that I want you to be my boyfriend, not the liking between siblings. That day, you said that kissing can only be done with the person you like. I only want to kiss you." My heart was beating like a drum, and I carefully observed Leo's expression. There was surprise, struggle, and also joy on his face. But in the end, these emotions were all suppressed by him, and only indifference remained. Leo finally spoke after a long while. His voice was dry. "Tracy, you're still young and don't understand what love is. We grew up together, so it's normal for you to be dependent on me. But you should know that I'm your brother and it's impossible between us." He was going to reject me again. Anger burned away all my rationality. I'm already an adult. I'm not a child anymore. And we don't have any blood relationship at all. What on earth are you worried about? Leo looked at me solemnly. "Tracy, you clearly could have a better choice, and it's not me. I don't want you to live under the pressure of worldly views, nor do I want." It was the so-called morality, ethics, and worldly opinions again. I was tired of hearing them. I couldn't help crying, "But I only want you." Leo untied the tie that bound me. He let me lean against his chest and allowed my tears to soak his shirt. Leo comforted me for a long, long time. I pleaded and asked, "Leo, I can feel that you also like me a little bit. Can we give it a try?" But the answer I got in the end still didn't change. "Tracy, we can't." After Leo left, I was alone in the room. I lay on the bed, quietly looking at the ceiling. My vision was blurred by tears. Just like the hazy memories. My parents and Leo's parents had always been good friends. During the holidays, they made an appointment to go on a trip. Nobody expected that there would be an accident this time. The plane lost control and crashed into the sea. In the end, not even the remains were found. I changed from a young lady to a poor wretch that nobody wanted. I often stood on the rooftop in a daze, thinking that it would be okay to end my life like this. Anyway, I didn't have any relatives left in this world. It was at that time that Leo found me. I thought I had been abandoned in the corner like trash, but Leo pulled me out of the mire. He pieced together my already broken heart bit by bit. His expression was still cold, but his tone was firm and unquestionable. He said, "If nobody wants you, I do. We're both alone now. I'll accompany you and be your family in the future." The elders of Leo's family adopted me. After that day, my name became Tracy. Once Leo made the vow, he never changed it. He supported the family business by himself and took on all the difficulties alone. And I only needed to stay behind him, and he would shelter me from the wind and rain. Leo seemed cold and strict on the surface, but in fact, he spoiled me to the extreme. No matter what willful requests I had, he would do his best to meet them for me. Since then, all my girlish feelings had been related to Leo. So, brother, how could I not fall in love with you? The bright moonlight once stopped for me, and I could no longer see those dim stars. I curled up on the bed, feeling extremely cold. "Brother, I only have you. You once asked me what my birthday wish was. Actually, it was the same every year. I wanted to be with you." Leo had always been decisive in everything he did. For a whole week after that, I didn't see him at home. When I asked the butler, he just hemmed and hawed and refused to answer. I went to Leo's company again. After asking his secretary, I learned that he had gone back to the old house. I made a video call to Leo. In front of him, I smashed the antique vase at home and poured all the red wine on the wine rack into the sewer. I did all kinds of outrageous things, but Leo always had an indifferent expression. In the end, He took off his frameless glasses and wearily pinched the bridge of his nose. Have you had enough fun? Be good. Let the nanny clean it up. Go back to your room and rest. I hung up the phone and covered my eyes with my hand. Obviously, Leo's reaction was normal. But I was in a very bad mood. No matter what I did, it seemed that I couldn't attract his attention anymore. That night, Leo still didn't come back. I packed my luggage overnight and angrily sent Leo a screenshot of the plane ticket. Brother, if you want to abandon me, you can just say it directly. I'm sensible and will leave by myself. But for some reason, I always thought of the plane crash that happened many years ago for no reason. A sense of fear rose in my heart without any reason. Forget it. I simply turned off my phone and turned the car stereo up to the maximum. The car was speeding on the highway. I thought indifferently that I might as well find a destination to stay at randomly. Anyway, Leo didn't want me anymore. I pretended to be carefree, but there was still a secret expectation in my heart. Brother, when we played hide-and-seek when we were kids, you could always find me quickly. After so many years, are we still as telepathic as before? This time, I also hope to be found by you. By the time I realized it, the car had already stopped in front of the beach villa. I lowered my eyes self-mockingly. When I was 18 years old, just because I casually said that I wanted to watch fireworks by the sea, Leo took me here overnight. Now that I was driving aimlessly, I came here again. Sure enough, my dependence on him had been engraved into my subconscious. The villa was empty. I took a lazy bath and changed into Leo's shirt. This was what I stole from his wardrobe before I left. I thought about it and decided to go all the way. I spread Leo's clothes all over the bed and buried myself in them. The reassuring smell of pine surrounded me like this. In the early hours of the morning, a heavy rain suddenly began to fall outside. Accompanied by the sound of thunder and lightning, raindrops hit the glass window heavily. After being awakened, I suddenly felt a bit flustered. I tossed and turned and couldn't fall asleep. I simply turned on the TV, wanting to distract myself. But what caught my eye was an urgent news item. At 18:28 yesterday, the Airbus S-3206 plane crashed in the waters of Country A. It has been confirmed that all 102 passengers and 9 crew members on board died. I stared wide-eyed. Why was this flight number so familiar? And the plane ticket I bought before was for going to Country A. I immediately took out my phone. I had never felt that turning on the phone could be so long. The screen of my phone lit up, and countless message bubbles popped up instantly. There were over 100 missed calls from Leo and hundreds of messages. With trembling hands, I opened the chat record. Leo said that he didn't abandon me and would never leave me behind. He said that he was buying the fastest flight now and would come to find me in Country A immediately. On his way to the airport, he saw that news. The last 2 messages were very simple. Tracy, it's all my fault. It's all because I made you angry. Wait for me to accompany you and make it up to you properly. I suddenly remembered. When we watched Romeo and Juliet together, I jokingly asked Leo, brother, if I died suddenly one day, what would your reaction be? He frowned angrily and pressed his index finger against my lips. What are you talking nonsense about? The plot reached its climax. The actor playing Romeo on the stage was crying bitterly. Leo took a deep breath and looked at me solemnly. If you died, I wouldn't be able to live either. I would come to accompany you. My heart became even more flustered, and I quickly dialed Leo's number. The call was connected quickly. Leo eagerly spoke and there was a trace of vulnerability and disbelief in his tone. Tracy? The moment I heard his voice, my tears couldn't help gushing out. Brother, it's me. Don't worry, I'm okay. I didn't get on that plane. I'm at the beach villa. There was the sound of clothes rubbing as Leo got up on the other end of the phone. He said anxiously, okay, Tracy, I'll be there soon. The heavy rain was still falling and showed no sign of stopping. I paced back and forth in the entrance hall, waiting anxiously. I didn't know how much time had passed. Finally, there was the sound of the lock being opened at the door. I looked up in a daze and met Leo's bloodshot eyes. He, who had always been calm and composed, actually had such a disheveled moment. Leo was soaked through, and the raindrops on his hair were falling in strings. He opened his arms to me. I threw myself into his embrace and called out, "Brother." Leo hugged me tightly, as if he wanted to blend me into his bones and blood. He leaned on my shoulder. The rain was cold, but a warm and damp feeling came from my shoulder. Brother was actually crying. He slowly raised his head, his eyes full of the joy of getting something back after losing it. His voice was hoarse. "Tracy, fortunately you're okay. It's all my fault." I was on the verge of crying again. "Stop talking." I grabbed the hem of Leo's clothes, stood on tiptoe, and cautiously moved closer. Naturally, our lips met. This time, Leo didn't push me away. He held the back of my head, pried open my teeth, and deepened the kiss. The raindrops were wild, cutting through the air and making a loud rustling sound. But my world became very quiet. All I could hear was the restless beating of my heart. When I returned to the room, I just realized that Leo's clothes were still on the bed and hadn't been tidied up. Instantly, my face burned red. I opened my arms, wanting to cover up the mess on the bed. "Brother, don't look." Leo just lowered his eyes thoughtfully. He casually picked out 2 pieces of clothing. "I'll go take a shower first." I covered my face. Oh no. Would brother think I'm a pervert? But it was an undeniable fact that I loved him madly. Before Leo went into the bathroom, he casually put his mobile phone on the bedside table. His password had always been my birthday. My curiosity got the better of me again. As soon as I opened the phone, the chat page with me popped up. But when I saw the words in the chat box clearly, I couldn't help but hold my breath. It was a message that Leo had written halfway and hadn't sent yet. "Tracy, the will has been made." But suddenly, I thought that there were a lot of things that I hadn't had time to tell you. What I want to say the most is, I love you. I was actually very happy when I heard your confession that night. However, you couldn't hear it anymore. What followed were chaotic pinyin. There were cracks on the screen at the corresponding positions of the keyboard. I could almost imagine how painful and conflicted Leo was at that time. Everything gradually faded into nothingness. All I could see in front of me was the sentence, "I love you." Brother said he loved me. My heart that had always been wandering finally found its home. The sound of water in the bathroom gradually stopped. I deliberately changed into a translucent shirt and pushed open the bathroom door. Leo had already finished taking a shower. He was naked from the waist up, only wrapped in a bath towel. He casually pushed his wet hair behind his forehead, and his cold and stern facial features were clearly visible. The thick steam added a touch of tenderness. Seeing me come in, he looked a bit surprised. "Tracy, what's the matter?" With a red face, I slowly approached Leo. I put my arms around his neck and obediently offered my lips. "Brother, I saw your phone. I already know that you like me too. So, can we do what lovers should do?" Leo's breathing also gradually became rapid. He said in a low voice, "Tracy, are you sure?" I unbuttoned my shirt one by one, answering with my actions. Leo regained the initiative. His powerful arms hugged me, and I clung to Leo's body. Delicate kisses fell one after another. In the heat of the moment, Leo wiped the mist off the mirror. "Baby, look in the mirror." I was so shy that I looked away. There was Leo's low laughter behind me. After it was over, I lay on the bed and covered my face with the quilt. My long-cherished wish had come true. Now brother is mine, and I'm also brother's. I lifted the quilt and found that Leo had gone to the balcony at some point. There was a cigarette between his fingertips, with a burning light. I opened the door and went out, hugging him from behind. Leo turned around and touched my hair very affectionately. "Go back to the room. It's cold outside." I looked up at him. "Brother, I also want to smoke." Leo pinched my face. "No, you'll choke." But I was very stubborn and shook Leo's sleeve. "Just one puff. I want to try what yours tastes like." Helplessly, Leo handed me the cigarette and let me take a puff. He was right. I was choked and kept coughing. Leo laughed softly and hugged me into his arms. "You're such a silly girl." When I was 18 years old, Leo took me to the seaside. At that time, I also wanted to take a puff of his cigarette like this. I always felt that I could be closer to him in this way. Leo refused me and then used that cigarette to light a sparkler for me. His face flickered in the firelight. After such a long time, I still remembered the feeling of being attracted to him at that time. The rain stopped. The waves were quietly surging, reflecting the clear moonlight. I held Leo's hand, and he held it tightly back. Leo withdrew his gaze from the waves and instead looked down at me seriously. Baby. I poked my head out of his arms. Although you've already seen that unsent message, I think that sentence will be more meaningful if I say it out loud. Leo kissed my left cheek. I love you. My ears were burning with shyness. Leo gently stroked my hair and continued to say, since the day I met you, I've made up my mind to protect you. I swore that I wouldn't let you feel lonely anymore and tried my best to make myself stronger, to be like an elder brother and be able to be your support. However, I found that I couldn't take my eyes off you more and more. When I saw male classmates sending you home, I couldn't suppress the anger in my heart. At first, I couldn't tell what this emotion was. I thought it was just a simple desire to protect. On the school anniversary day, I saw you and your classmate playing a couple on the stage. Knowing clearly that it was just acting, there was a voice in my heart constantly shouting that the person standing beside you should be me. At that time, I finally understood that the constantly rising flame was called jealousy. And I fell in love with my sister. I've tried not to care about you and tried to eliminate this changed emotion, but I found that I couldn't do it. On the night when you confessed your love to me, I was almost too happy to speak. So you liked me too, but I didn't want you to fall into the mire with me. I didn't want you to bear the worldly accusing eyes. I was also worried that love might not last as long as family affection. I was afraid that you would leave me. When I saw the news of the plane crash, my mind went blank. I couldn't accept losing you. Leo's kiss fell on my eyelashes. So I don't want to care about morality, ethics, or the relationship between brother and sister anymore. I just want to fall in love with you. Even if the earth is going to be destroyed tomorrow, I'll only be glad that fortunately, I confessed my love today and spent one more day with you. I stretched out my hand and showed him a sweet smile. Brother, I'll always love you and never leave you. Let's make a pinky promise to love each other until the end of time. Leo hooked my little finger. He shook it and chuckled. Okay, pinky promise. In the seaside villa, Leo and I spent a wild week. A sweet world for just the two of us, without any interference from the outside world. The sofa, the bathtub, and even the kitchen island. There were memories that made people blush and their hearts beat faster everywhere. But we couldn't completely cut ourselves off from reality. The documents had piled up like a mountain, and Leo had to go back to work. It was like being forced to break away from a beautiful dream, and I felt a strong sense of loss. On the way back, I was always in a low mood. When we arrived at the company entrance, I reluctantly held onto Leo's sleeve, not wanting him to leave. If only I could turn into a pendant. Then I could live in the pocket of your suit. Leo helped me tuck my loose hair behind my ear. He pinched my earlobe. Baby, wait for me to come home. Obediently. Still reluctant to part, I acted coquettishly towards him. Brother, shall we take a photo together? Like this, when I look at the photo, I can relieve my longing for you a little. Leo nodded. Okay. I learned the most fashionable pose for taking photos on the internet. I stretched out my left hand and let Leo lean his face on it. It was very childish and didn't match Leo's cold temperament at all. But Leo did as I asked. The moment I pressed the shutter, a slight coolness came from my finger. I withdrew my hand in surprise and found that Leo had put a ring on me. I touched the ring in surprise. Brother, when did you prepare this? There was also a ring on Leo's left hand. It was a couple's ring. Leo curled his lips, his eyes full of tenderness. I prepared it a long time ago. Are you in a better mood now? I put my arms around his arm and kissed him on the face. I nodded vigorously. I'm so happy. Leo was still very busy with his work. I decided to take the initiative. After carefully researching for a whole morning, I finally made a heart-shaped lunchbox that looked perfect. During the lunch break, I arrived at Leo's company. I heard someone whispering softly, President Leo's sister still comes to bring him food. They have such a good relationship. I couldn't help but raise the corners of my mouth. On the surface, we were siblings with a good relationship, but in fact, we were a couple in the honeymoon period. They probably couldn't imagine it. The serious President Leo had all the hickey marks I left hidden under his shirt collar. I pushed open the office door and tilted my head at Leo. Did you miss me? A hint of surprise appeared on Leo's face. He sat on the office chair, smiled, and patted his lap. Baby, come here. I don't know when it started, but everything developed in an uncontrollable direction. Leo held me tightly in his arms and kissed me deeply. When the knock on the door sounded, Leo and I had just finished a passionate kiss. I opened my eyes wide and touched my lips. Someone's here to see you. What should I do? My lips seemed to be swollen from kissing. I was like a naughty student who had done something wrong. My first reaction was to hide myself. But I turned around here and there, not knowing where to hide. Leo couldn't help laughing. Baby, there's a lounge behind the bookcase. The one who caused the trouble was still laughing at me. I felt rebellious again. I don't want to go to the lounge. Leo's desk was very big. I bent down and hid under the desk. After that person came in, he began to report on work. I waited for more than 10 minutes, but there was no sign of it ending at all. I regretted hiding under the table and mouthed to Leo, hurry up. Leo curled his lips and reached his hand under the table to stroke my head. What the? It was as if he was teasing a pet. I got a bit angry and wanted to fight back. I've always been good at being mischievous. I slid my hand up along Leo's trousers and gently scratched his leg. He tried to stop me, but my hand accidentally touched a familiar place. Leo let out a muffled groan. That person asked in confusion, President Leo, what's the matter? Leo's voice was cold. Report to me when it's time for the meeting. You can leave first. That person hesitated for a moment and then said, oh, and went out the door. Leo pulled me out from under the table and pinned me against the office desk. His voice was hoarse. Baby, don't hide like this next time. A hot kiss was imprinted on my neck. The documents on the desk became messy. Leo's shirt was also wrinkled by me. He chuckled and reminded me, baby, keep your voice down. Be careful not to be heard. Leo wore the couple rings with me without any hesitation. And I went to his company more and more frequently. Some elders noticed something unusual. During a family gathering, Uncle called us into the study. He hesitated to speak. Tracy, haven't you been sticking to your brother too much lately? You're even wearing couple rings. How can your brother find a partner like this? I had expected this day to come. But when it was really discovered, I was still very nervous. I lowered my head and kept thinking about how to get away with it. Leo calmly took my hand. I'm with Tracy now. We're in a romantic relationship. I widened my eyes and looked at Leo in surprise. The water glass in Uncle's hand fell to the ground with a loud noise. An expression of disbelief appeared on his face, followed by fury. You two are clearly siblings. How can you be together? Leo said lightly, we don't have a blood relationship. Uncle was deeply grieved. You're being ridiculous. Not to mention anything else, do you know how much impact this kind of scandal will have on the family once it gets out? After all, in the eyes of outsiders, you two grew up together as siblings. Leo and I held our hands tightly and never let go. Leo lowered his eyes, his gaze sharp. Uncle, I'm now the person in charge of the Leo family. I'll handle these matters well. No matter what you say, I won't change my mind. Uncle was stunned for a moment and then sighed heavily. He waved his hand. Okay, you've grown up. Now you've even learned to threaten me, right? Leo said seriously, I'll have Tracy's household registration moved out so that everyone knows we're no longer siblings. After that, we'll make our relationship public. Leo took out many documents from the study and showed them to Uncle one by one. In the end, Uncle just wearily waved his hand. All right, I can't control you anymore. As long as you two are happy together. I moved my fingertips and gently scratched Leo's palm. We will surely be happy. The moment we came out of the old house, a light rain suddenly began to fall in the sky. The fine raindrops fell with the gentle breeze, looking particularly soft. It suddenly occurred to me that today was the summer solstice. The first rain in summer was so gentle. Leo took off his coat and held it over my head. The first time Leo and I met was also on the summer solstice. The young man pushed open the iron gate and came to the dilapidated rooftop. He also barged into my desolate heart. The scorching sun, the cicadas chirping, and the summer wind. He walked towards me against the light and became my god. Many years later today, Leo is still by my side, protecting me from all the wind and rain. The vows made by the seaside will never fade. We'll be in love together until the end of time. In the future, we'll witness many more summer solstices together. I stood on tiptoe and kissed Leo on the lips. Brother, I love you.